What's up, Beyonders? James here. I'm back from vacation, and today I am so excited because we're returning with voidrivals. And not only is there so much to unpack in this issue, but also, spoiler alert, we get another awesome Transformers cameo, and it's one of my favorite bots. Let's get into it. So remember, we last left off with Darak and Solila arriving at the Sacred Ring, and Solila just straight up betraying Darak. That's where this newest issue picks up. Solila changes the ship's course to Zertonia. What's cool here is we see something we saw back in the first issue of voidrivals that honestly I forgot about. Handroid controls Darak's unconscious body and launches it towards Solila, knocking her back. It immediately grabs Darak's blaster and points it at Solila. Handroid threatens Solila to change course to Agoria, or it will blast her unconscious and just wait to see who gets to them first. Solila asks how's it controlling Darak's body, and Handroid explains the brain moves with electrical impulses, and it's using the same impulses to move the hand. It's essentially an extra brain for the body. Though she's initially surprised, Solila quickly picks up on Handroid's weakness. Handroid cannot see. She tells it if she's blasted unconscious or even loses her balance, her spear will go right through Darak's chest. And she assumes it has a protocol against putting its wearer in danger, so its only option is to surrender. Handroid reluctantly does. Solila also astutely surmises that if she tries to remove Handroid from Darak's body, there's a failsafe to prevent that, which Handroid confirms. So she orders it to behave. From here we go to Zertonia, most likely its capital city. We see a great pyramid where the leader of Zertonia resides, Premier Zalilak. Now in the throne room, a Zertonian citizen has obtained an audience with him, and Premier Zalilak's subject is going through the whole royalty tradition of announcing all of Zalilak's titles to the citizen. Let me tell you all something, this guy has more titles than Daenerys Targaryen in Game of Thrones. His subject is just listing off all these titles like, you stand before Premier Zalilak the Great, Vanquisher of Scorn, Bringer of the Dawn of Revelry, Guardian of all Zertonia. And the guy just keeps going until Zalilak interrupts and says, enough of this, speak. Now we get even more evidence here that the resource situation in Zertonia is dire. This citizen informs Zalilak that his people have been rationing diligently, but he's afraid it may not be enough. That his lands provide food for the great city, but in order for his people to continue to do so, he asks for more water. But before Zalilak can answer, one of his troops enters the throne room and notifies him about a ship approaching that's transmitted the proper security codes. Zalilak deduces that it's Solila, and tells this citizen they will settle the matter another time. Back on the ship, Darak, who's now awakened, tells Solila pretty much what you would expect. That he didn't expect her to betray him, especially after everything they've been through together. That after all the times they saved each other, he thought that meant something, and thought they were friends. Now Solila is surprised Darak used the word friends. She says, I'm sorry, but there's too much at stake for my people. I will admit, I no longer consider us enemies, but friends? No. More like rivals. Darak replies, I like that. Okay, rivals it is. Darak admits that he understands her position and her people's situation. The Zertonians are so desperate that they're sending warriors to do pilot jobs. That's information they do not want to get out. At that moment, Solila grips Darak and explains if he wants to survive what comes next, he'll keep that information to himself, make it clear that he knows nothing about her, and most importantly, not say anything about them revealing each other's faces to each other. That when it comes to the secret they've learned about their people, she will share that with those she's sure she can trust. But when Darak responds to that, asking if she really knows who it is she can trust, Solila answers, working that out. So she's not even 100% sure if she can trust whoever she has in mind to tell this secret to. Once they arrive in Zertonia, Darak is brought before Premier Zalilak, and a crowd of Zertonian citizens are there in attendance. The people are like, he's hideous, and one woman with her child is like, shield your eyes. I thought this was hilarious, but in all seriousness, it really displays just the pure hate between both these races. Solila apologized to Zalilek for failing her mission, but Zalilek makes it clear that she didn't fail. He's pleased with her because she has brought back a gift. Now from here, we go to my favorite part of this issue, and there's so much to talk about here. We finally go to Cybertron with one of my absolute favorite bots, Shockwave. And I totally called this. I said in my Transformers Return video that I think Shockwave will be on Cybertron like in the original series. Now, he's pissed off because the Skuxoid has brought before him a Quintesson, the Quintesson prosecutor to be exact, that we met in the last video. The reason why the Skuxoid has brought him here is because he expected Shockwave would pay for one of his race's hated enemies. Now, I could be reading too much into this, but because we learned in the last video that Age of Wrath is part of the Energon universe's history, though we may not know the details of that event yet, I really think Skybound is going to lean into the Quintessons being the creators of the Transformers like in the original animated series. Shockwave tells the Skuxoid he has no Energon to pay him with, and whatever he did have has already been used on resources. There, he barely has enough Energon to sustain himself, and his fellow Decepticons are in stasis. What I like about this is Kirkman is making the resource situation on Cybertron so grim and scarce that bots have to be put in stasis in order to survive. He is putting it at the forefront, making you see and feel just how bad it is for the Transformers. Now, this isn't a new concept. In Dreamwave's Transformers universe, there was a period of time known as the Great Shutdown, where soon after the launch of the Autobots arc, once all of Cybertron's Energon dried up, Transformers all across the planet simply began to shut down and enter into an enforced stasis lock. And that marked the end of the conflict between Autobots and Decepticons, at least on Cybertron, for 3,000 years. Until Shockwave was reactivated and began awakening all the Transformers. This is just further confirmation that Skybound is taking elements and is inspired by not only the original Transformers animated series, but also Dreamwave's Transformers. Another thing I want to mention is this shows that Kirkman didn't call this shared universe the Energon universe because it's a catchy name, but because it seems to be the most valuable resource in the universe and probably is one of the main forms of currency. We'll have to wait and see. The Skuxoid tells Shockwave that he should relate to his plight because, as we know already, he's got wife and kids to feed, man. He asks Shockwave if he has something of value to trade at least. Shockwave answers, "Remove this foul creature from my sight before I commandeer your vessel and strip it for parts." Now, returning to Zertonia, Premier Zalilek informs Solila that he knows of Darak. He is a valuable hostage since he is the Agorian's greatest pilot. He praises Solila for bringing him, that her actions will save many lives because he plans to trade Darak for more resources. Now, Solila is about to make a major mistake. What she says next reveals everything to Zalilek. She expresses relief that Darak won't be harmed. Zalilek then asks if she cares about Darak. She answers she doesn't care and lies that she considers him an enemy, but goes on to explain they had to cooperate in order to survive and get home, that after everything he's been through, she wouldn't want him to face any harm if it can be avoided. This is where she messed up, because Zalilek doesn't respond immediately. He stares at her for a moment and asks, "In all your time together, did this Agorian ever see your face?" And Solila says nothing. Moments later, Solila is thrown in the same cell as Darak. She tells him Premier Zalilek knows about them. And even though she never got to answer his question if she and Darak ever saw each other's faces, he somehow knew they did, and in order to prevent her from telling anyone, threw her in the same cell immediately. Now, Darak asks a valuable question here. He says he didn't bother to ask what my face looked like. Solila replies, no, he already knew. Whoever is keeping this secret starts at the top. Both of their worst fears have come true. This serious moment, though, doesn't last long, because Darak takes this opportunity to throw it in Solila's face that she double-crossed him, and look what it got her. Sometime later, we follow Premier Zalilak heading down into this hidden chamber. He contacts someone on a secure channel and explains the ship that approached the Sacred Ring was manned by a Zertonian pilot with an Agorian prisoner, who have seen each other's faces. That he'll deal with the Zertonian pilot, but the Agorian prisoner is an entirely different matter. This individual tries to rush Zalilak, telling him they know what must be done. However, Zalilak informs this individual that the circumstances are a lot more complicated and that usually he wouldn't risk contact for a trivial matter such as this. He thought it would be best to reach out personally, considering who this pilot is. The individual on the channel asks, "Who is he?" Zalilak answers, "He's your son, Minister Doolin." Doolin says, "Do what you will. He was lost to me long ago." He hangs up the call and then silently grieves. This is nuts. The leaders of the Agorians and Zertonians are both part of the conspiracy to hide their people's past history of cooperation and unity, and especially hide the truth that they're of the same race. That's the end of the video. Let me know what you all think about this big reveal and how you feel about Shockwave's appearance. I'm curious. Other than that, have an awesome day. Like and subscribe, and always remember every day to go beyond.